still a sore subject. We're not allowed to bring it up at Christmas.
I'm fucking real, bro. You ain't shit.
I mean, if I can't say something that just cut cold or make someone laugh, I don't even type it.
You a fucking punk-ass bitch!
Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still got a headache over that.
I'm the greatest man talking on the fucking face of the earth right now.
You should be thanking me that I'm talking about Tennessee.
You guys can't coach, to be honest with you. It's a high school coach.
Fuck me.
What is it all with again? It's over again. Quit it, not feeling good.
Yeah, go ahead, Unabomber. What the fuck are you saying about the SEC, bro?
Don't be ridiculous right now, okay?
No, USC is far better than Oklahoma historically.
Can we get a timeout just for half a second?
Because I want motherfuckers like you every goddamn day!
I just can't believe y'all put a statue of this guy already at your campus.
Dude, whatever you're smoking, buy a ton of it.
You a fucking punk-ass bitch!
Then it makes me look like I got owned or something.
Smacking off.
And welcome to another edition of Smacking Off, the podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my co-host and producer. Doug, how are you this evening?
Pretty good, but got the hay fever going on.
You do. You sound a little fevery.
Don't let me cough for you.
Yeah. In fact, don't cough on me.
I literally cannot smell anything.
Only you can control
My
whether
smeller has went completely out.
Only you can completely control whether you cough on me or not if you think about it. We had a boo-boo last week. We actually we were going to air the Blue Blood episode. It's going to be a single episode. And, well, apparently there was a secret meeting that went down, and we decided that there was just that the original take was just too explosive, and I don't think that. Well, I think we'd mentioned like Georgia and Clemson fans would be able to handle
that. And Timothy really got. He was in rare form.
Timothy was in rare form. I had to correct him a couple times, and it was tense. It was very tense.
Right, and Vergowven went off on that fucking Michigan should be somewhere behind Appalachian State rant.
Yeah. It was pretty salacious. So we went ahead and to spare the public, we had to recut it. It was either that or it could have been a computer.
What we did is we just really, seriously, we recorded a minute and 55 seconds of it, and then we just cut it off.
Yeah, because that's all we needed, really. I mean, that's how.
And if y'all don't believe us, we'll put the, hey, you want to put the minute and 55 seconds?
I guess we can, yeah. We need to go ahead and put the original segment that started this problem. Unfortunately, we had a computer error, and we wound up erasing well over an hour of conversation about it, so... we actually decided we had to do some rough justice really quick and decided to divide it up into two episodes because it was a pretty big conversation. Even in the hour-long conversation that we had, the initial conversation, I don't feel like we got down to... I mean, it was a very extrapolated conversation, but there was still so much more to talk about. So,
and with the original conversation and only having a minute, 55 seconds, we were still able to blame... the guests.
Yes.
The guests were the problem.
Yes, the guests really brought this whole thing down, and I think the guests may I'm not going to point the finger squarely at them, but it's definitely in their general direction for the computer error that we had. So.
If Dane was on this, we would have been able easily to put it off on Dane.
Well, and I had suggested Dane early on, just because, Dane keeps it real like that.
So even, you're right.
And he wears them hats, too.
If the same thing would have happened with Dane, we could have just blamed the whole fucking thing on Dane.
Yeah. So, there's that. And also, too, for another downer, we had scheduled a smack between Joe Gardner, who's a regular over at STC Smack, was desperately.
And Albie.
He's an Albie. Trying to get a hold of Russ Mostert, a.k.a. Smack Jesus, on the program. I'd actually reached out to a couple people in different threads that had nothing to do with this podcast, trying to get a hold of him. So we set it up, had it actually due to air tonight, and Russ says he has a poker tournament, and Joe says he's working. So I don't know. I think there might be a little intimidated by one another. What do you think?
Nobody has the spirit that they had last week.
No, it was definitely about some
last
feels
week. This was a
anger.
goddamn cage match.
Yeah, there was anger. Joe had said a few very salacious things about our very own Smack Jesus, and it was.
Did he say anything about his family?
He didn't go Family Smack with it.
Well, damn, I don't know why he didn't. He was in Family Smack.
It was, yeah. Well, he approached it in Family Smack and also a thread in Smack and SEC Smack where Family Smack is not allowed.
Right.
So,
Sorry,
yeah,
but let's
that.
go ahead and throw this out. This segment is.
Oh,
brought
you
to
know
by-
what? No. And there's one final thing that I've got to get off my chest just for half a second. You got booted from SEC Smack.
Why though?
That
I haven't figured it out
I
yet.
still have yet to
I'm
receive.
still booted. I'm blocked.
Yeah, your main profile is blocked now. I went ahead and added your other
I'm
profile,
back
which
in
is
there.
still the same name and it's still your profile.
I
It's
was
not a
removed
fake
there
profile.
too though because I actually was a member with both.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, maybe they booted him because they thought it was a fake. I think that's happened before, but
Maybe, but I don't know why they blocked.
I think you pissed somebody off. I think you.
I don't
did.
know. I don't know who it would have been unless it was when I shared the Russ segment.
We know it wasn't David Marshall because David Marshall knows very clearly that we both love him very dearly. We
But you
dedicated a whole episode to it.
Now you did say that your when you shared Russ, when you shared the Smack Jesus segment over there, it got removed. It got removed, right?
You did get removed.
Okay, I never seen if mine got removed. I actually shared over there too. So maybe my post and myself got removed.
I don't know. This is a controversy though. We got to check this out because SEC Smack is very near and dear to the hearts of the show. We've had a lot of their admins, mods, and contributors, regular contributors on their page on the show. Still haven't got David Marshall yet. We need to. In fact, I think we need to start doing a countdown.
I thought it was interesting, but
to be fair, have either one of us actually reached out to David Marshall yet? I don't think we have. I
actually thought about just point blank asking David Marshall, but I just felt like he'd probably come back and say, "Buddy, I really
he's an
don't know."
important guy. I mean, he ain't got to worry about little piddly things like that. That's for his admins and mods to deal with. He's
hold on now.
He is the emperor.
I
Of
seen
Smack.
him in a little smack off the other day. It was pretty piddly.
Are you calling him out on the show? See, all you're doing is throwing gas on the.
No, I'm just saying
fire,
that
man.
I'm saying he'll get involved in something piddly at least for a minute.
Oh! I see what you're saying. The fact that he does take the time,
right,
to curate some of these threads, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know David Marshall. I definitely don't dislike the guy.
I love him. I think he's hilarious, and I love what he's done with Smack. Smack is definitely probably the first Smack group on Facebook. Nobody has countered that claim yet. I'm still waiting for a counter, and I think it's one of the best Smack, if not the best Smack group.
You keep
on
talking
Facebook.
about it. I've searched it. It don't come up in searches.
What's that? The oldest Smack group in Facebook.
What'd you call it again?
What?
This Smack group you keep talking about.
SEC Smack.
Yeah, I've searched it. It don't come up. It's not there.
Oh man. So yeah, we got to get to the bottom of that. So this is an official plea. This is not a demand of any sorts. We're both huge fans of the page, but this is a plea to the admins and mods over at SEC Smack to free Doug. Free Doug now. I'm officially starting the hashtag.
No, you're right. I may have actually pissed somebody
now.
off if I did.
Hashtag free
It would
Doug
have
now.
been the Russ thing. It wasn't any exchanges I've had because I had none.
Okay. Well, I'm just making sure. I mean, it gets kind of heated over there.
Yeah, I don't get involved in that anymore.
The Smack Ninja group too is SEC Smack Ninjas, which is
I think that's
affiliated with SEC Smack.
I think that's what happened. They were looking through the names, and they were saying, "Okay, yeah, SEC Smack," and then he would point up Smack Ninja on this guy, axe him from all contact with SEC.
So you think
Smack.
that David Marshall personally had input on this decision?
No.
I think it was just an admin that thought you were fake.
It's
probably.
possible now because David Marshall wasn't.
Well, you don't have your profile pic on either one of your profiles.
No, I just have a picture of Tabby on the one in her Bama garb.
Little Tabby.
Little Tabby.
Yeah, Tabby's back grown up now.
Yep.
All right. Well,
but anyway, we got this great segment, and we're gonna rework the blue blood list, and actually stretch it into 10 teams. So there's going to be some people.
So we did settle on 10 teams. And to be fair, I was actually privy to the first conversation, but the other subsequent conversations that you had with the fellas, I was not. So I will be hearing it.
It was basically just expanded.
I will be hearing this for the first time as well tonight. So, so everybody stay tuned.
I don't want to grow up on a Toys R Us kid. They got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got the best for so much less. You really flip your lid. From bikes to trains to video games, it's the biggest toy store there is. Gee whiz! I don't want to grow up, 'cause baby, if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. More games, more toys. Oh boy, I want to be a Toys R Us kid.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that with the approach that Jack Swarbrick is taking. We know we're going to have 5 or 6 ACC games a year. That's a part of the contract. We're going to have Navy, so that's 7 games right there. We're going to always have
USC and Boston.
USC.
You're going to have USC.
So that's 8 games. And then we have 4 games to play with. And Swarbrick's mantra is we're going to schedule the hardest we can schedule from the Power 5. Now, does that mean there are going to be years where we're going to go 5-7, 4-8, 6-6, 7-5? Absolutely. But the credence that Notre Dame football has been built on since Rockney is take on all comers, play anywhere, and you just saw that 2 weeks ago. Notre Dame and Alabama agreed to. I know it's 10 years down the road, but that's because both schools had a full non-conference, Alabama non-conference, and Notre Dame with other teams they've agreed to play. But
yes.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Just like Notre Dame, Michigan came crawling, begging. We put them back on the schedule for a home.
No! I don't think it'll be Notre Dame that backs out.
Notre Dame's got a home and home after that with Ohio State. You see, we just played Georgia this year. I mean, Notre Dame wants to play the big dogs, and as long as this is where I know that's a lot to get to my point, but as long as we have NBC in the national, you can be anywhere in the country if it's on NBC, Hawaii, Maine, Florida. We're playing the big dogs. We're on national TV. The kids see that, and we keep putting players in the NFL. They're going to keep coming. As soon as we don't, then I could see us retrograding out of the blue blood discussion.
Okay, so at what level do you have to maintain your success? Like, give me like a rough win window that you guys need to stay in.
Really, between 8-4 and 10-2 in the regular season, with occasionally, with occasional sprinkling in of an 11-1 or a 12-0, which you saw. I know, unfortunately, we got our ass handed to us by Alabama in that BCS championship game. But that regular season,
the rest of college football.
That regular season of 12-0, we beat 3 blue bloods that year.
Yep.
We beat Michigan at home. We went out to Oklahoma and fist stomped them, as much as Tim won't admit that, 30-13, and that game wasn't that damn close. And then we went out to USC to finish the season. We beat them in their own building. I mean, and we beat Pitt, and we beat Boston College, and we beat Navy. I think Purdue as well that season. But you look at Notre Dame's schedule year in and year out. It's a murderer's row.
I'm not trying to say that you have. It's like some cupcake schedule. It's the fact that you guys legitimately have complete control over your schedule. There is no hey, we're gonna, we have to play Illinois.
They got to play. They've got to play a few ACC teams. I'm not sure.
It's a double-edged sword though, because we have almost complete control. Yeah, we do have to play 5 or 6 ACC opponents, but at the same time, we got to win at least 10 of those 12 games, and that's. I mean, you saw last year that team ran out of gas in November. I mean, there was no reason to lose to Stanford the last week of the season. They were up going into the fourth quarter. They ran out of gas. Those kids were exhausted. And Notre Dame refuses to put in a second bye week. They will not play before September 1st, and they will not play any December games. So you've got to condense 12 games into those 3 months, September, October, and November. So that means they only get 1 bye week. I'm against it, but that's their policy.
The Miami game, the Miami Notre Dame game. I can see Notre Dame losing that game, but there's no way. There's no way it should have went down the way it went down.
Well, that's because Brian Kelly's a bad coach.
That's exactly. It's embarrassing to admit when a person that likes another school that hates our school is right, but he's absolutely right. Brian Kelly was out-coached and outclassed even before the week began by Mark Richt, and I had a bad feeling about it. I didn't think it would be that bad, but I actually penciled us in for a loss. I figured it would be like 31-20 Miami, something like that. I didn't think we'd get our ass beat like we did, but that doesn't shock me. That's Brian Kelly.
Right. Yep.
And we saw that in the BCS title game. Nick Saban used the 43 days to prepare properly and get his team ready to go. And Brian Kelly was off taking interviews with the Eagles and the Jets and I think the Panthers.
Yeah, and there's no way that Alabama looked good that night, but there's no way they were that much better than Notre Dame. And I'll be the first to admit that.
My feeling on Brian Kelly is he is a coach that will beat the people he's supposed to beat, and then he'll probably be outcoached by the people he could beat. Like, you guys have the talent to beat him.
Here's a great example in the Michigan State Notre Dame rivalry. There's no reason, under God, and I'm sorry, you might disagree with this. There's no reason we should have lost the Little Giants game to you. There's no fucking reason on earth we should have lost that game. Put everybody back. I'll let you guys kick the field goal without even a rush to at least tie us. But I'm not giving up a fake pass to beat us for a touchdown. Not happening. And then Brian Kelly he's got a timeout to use. Use the fucking timeout and say, wait a minute. They might fake here. They might fake.
Right.
Didn't use the timeout. Overcommits on the line of scrimmage, and it was an easy 6 for State, and that was the game.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly,
that's your coach, who's a damn good coach. D'Antonio's a damn good coach. He does the best what he can with the players that he gets, but he gets them to execute what he wants them to execute, and that was a simple case of him out scheming Brian Kelly. Pure and simple.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, and Brian Kelly's gotten out schemed by Ken Muliamatalolo, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, from Navy, because we've lost the Navy a couple times, which should never happen.
Yeah, but Navy's that weird beast too. You can't chalk up a loss to Navy as like, hey, I got out schemed. Navy can beat anybody if a couple breaks break their way. They can beat anybody. So don't beat yourself up because you lost to Navy a couple times.
A school that averages top 15 recruiting should not lose to a school that averages 90 in recruiting. I don't care, Wishbone, Veer.
They have more heart. That's why they're in the Navy, man. Have more heart.
If that was the case, they wouldn't have lost to Army this year.
They lost Army because Army has more heart and bigger guns.
But yeah, I mean that's gonna like the three that should be the most concerned about losing blue blood status to me are Nebraska, Michigan, and Notre Dame. Absolutely.
Premium beer, lucky premium beer. Go lively, get lucky, swing to exciting beer flavor.
Finest ingredients, aged for flavor. That's Lucky Lager. Flavor that's entertaining, enthusiastic, a very exciting beer.
Lucky beer, premium beer, lucky premium beer.
Visit our Facebook pages, Smacking Off the Podcast fan page and Smacking Off the Podcast group page, facebook.com/group/smackoff, facebook.com/smackologists.
Do you guys have your
Whoa, Sean. We're forgetting about one that we added to our list that needs to be added to that losing blue blood status. Tennessee.
From the list we created last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We added Tennessee, and yes, they absolutely need to be worried.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely, because they cannot out-recruit the schools around them. Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and some might even argue Ole Miss. out recruits Tennessee.
I really don't understand that. Why though? Because it wasn't happening when Fulmer was there, and I don't know what changed. Because
Fulmer's dirty as hell.
Yeah, not to bash the SEC or like some conspiracy theory, but when Fulmer was there, players were straight up getting paid. Same thing with Lloyd Carr. Same thing with Jim Tressel. I mean, during the 90s and the early 2000s, when these teams were recruiting all of these players like crazy and having all this top talent, kids were absolutely getting paid, and it's no more evident than the Miami scandal. Like, don't think that was just at Miami. Miami was just dumb enough to get caught.
I was going to say, how did Florida State and Bobby Bowden not get caught? Those 90s teams were ridiculous. I mean, somebody was shoeboxes full of cash.
Hey, do you guys have your lists?
Yeah, I got mine. Yep.
Oh, and I gotta freaking go to the chat and look mine up.
Oh shit, that's like 400 pages deep right now, probably.
So, yeah, I apologize. I created the player discussion based off that for a little sidebar this afternoon.
No, it's right here. Okay, good.
All right.
I mean, I got
my order. I'll go first. My order is 1: Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Miami, Tennessee, Michigan.
Okay. And Devine?
So I have Alabama at number 1. I have Southern Cal at number 2. I have Notre Dame at number 3. Oklahoma at number 4. Ohio State at number 5. Michigan at 6. Texas at 7. Tennessee at 8. Cut me off here. Hold on. Miami at 9, and then Nebraska at 10. Sean and I both agree on Alabama at 1, and as long as Nick Saban's there, I think they're probably going to keep doing what they're doing.
Honestly, and Doug, this isn't trying to allude to anything. Literally, the only thing that can bring Nick Saban down at this point is Nick Saban.
Yeah.
If he's paying players, if he's doing some dirty shit, it'll eventually come out. But not insinuating that he is.
Right.
But legitimately, I don't foresee somebody being able to routinely stop him. Because, I mean, people want to talk about Clemson. They want to talk about Alabama. Ohio State. They want to talk about all these teams. Yeah, they'll have the occasional success against Alabama. But on average, you're going to have the exact same problem that you had that we've seen, where Ohio State beats Alabama, run through the heart of Dixie and all that crap. And then they get blanked by Clemson in the next year in the playoffs 2 years later.
My point on it is, and I agree with Sean, but I'm going to kind of take a different angle, if I may. If not for Deshaun Watson playing out of his freaking mind and a pick play at the end zone to end that game, if not for a kick 6 from Auburn, I'm sorry, Doug, I know that still hurts, and I think one other, Florida back in, what was that, 2008?
Yeah.
Without those 3 games, we could be talking about, instead of 5 of 9 for Saban, 8 of 8 in 11. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's insane good.
Right.
That's never before seen in college football good.
I would even argue. I would argue that Auburn also had to have a miracle play off the back of the Georgia defensive back to score that touchdown to beat Georgia. They needed 2 miracle plays to make the national championship that year.
That Auburn.
Right, but I'm just speaking specifically to Alabama. Right. I mean, we're talking basically like 3 plays. 3 plays have kept them from winning a national title.
Right. Well, let me just put this out there, and I love what y'all are saying, and it sounds great. I was listening to somebody talk about Mac Brown a few weeks ago.
Was it Tim Brando?
Maybe it was. I don't remember. Maybe this will sound familiar to you though, and if it was Tim Brando, you can throw that out there. But he basically was talking about Mac Brown kind of going downhill, and coaches like that, they don't forget how to coach or anything like that. What happens is they can't keep staff. When they get a certain age, people, they don't want to hang around for the retirement. They head on out, and that's the problem Saban's starting to have right now. And it's really going to come down, can Saban keep replacing these people and it going off without missing a beat? I don't think it can. I think it's going to catch up at some point.
I think it's that, and I think it's going to be recruiting.
Yeah.
Can
absolutely.
he keep bringing in top 3 classes?
When he can't,
because if you get the bodies there, he's going to coach them up and get them basically NFL ready.
Right, but are they going to believe that he's going to be there? And, people don't like uncertainty, and kids don't like it, and they don't want to go into a situation that Nick Saban could retire in the middle of their playing career at Alabama.
What definitely helps him as well is in-state, Auburn is still a shit show with Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
And Gus Malzahn's, 20 years younger than Saban, or at least 15 years younger than Saban?
I'm not sure how old Malzahn is. He is quite a bit younger than Saban, though.
And he's not playing up that role.
No, not at all.
Of, hey, Nick could be gone next year if he wins another title.
Right.
Why would you go there? He could retire tomorrow. I mean, if Nick Saban retired right now, he's still in the discussion, greatest of all time college football coaches.
Oh, definitely.
Sad part is if Nick Saban retired today, there's only one guy that could compete with him, and it's the other fucking Alabama coach.
Yeah, Bill Bryant. Yeah.
You got Urban Meyer that could squeeze up in there. He's not.
No, Urban is at least 2 titles away from competing for that.
Right.
Easily too.
But it could happen. I mean, he's the only active coach that's got as many as 3 besides Saban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he could, and don't get me wrong, it's very possible, but I just don't see it.
I don't either.
Right.
I agree. I just don't. I see Penn State and Michigan State and Michigan being too much of a sort of a burr in his ass to be that successful. LSU for a little while was with Bama, but now, and maybe a little bit of Auburn, but he's got LSU solved, especially since they got rid of the Mad Hatter. So now we know. Thank you, Les Miles. It's basically, can Alabama get to the Auburn game healthy and beat Auburn?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then deal with whoever comes out of the East. Now, the East is certainly rising with Kirby and Georgia, but prior to that, I mean, we saw 2 shitty Florida teams go to the SEC championship game.
Right.
I mean, that they decent defenses, but their offense was, anemic to say the least, especially against the Nick Saban defense. So I just don't see Urban Meyer being able to have that kind of control over the Big Ten like Saban has had over the last 4 or 5 years in the SEC.
Well, it'll be interesting going forward. I'm really interested in what Ohio State does this year because
I think this is a big year for Ohio State. This is kind of a little, I don't want to call it a make or break. Urban's not going to get fired or anything, but you're starting to see, Penn State's making a move. This is a big year for Michigan, and Michigan State and D'Antoni are always there.
All right, guys, man, I really appreciate y'all doing this, and
we appreciate you doing it. Thank you for setting us up.
All right, at the end of the podcast, we'll have the top 10.
That's awesome.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys.
All right, Doug. Have a good night. Sean, have a good one.
You too.
11 world-class contenders. Take them down with your controller, beat them all, and you've got a shot at Tyson's title. But for that, you've got to beat Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
Introducing the most fabulous, the most luxurious, the most anti-Bama ride available today. Fuck those championships, they're all fucking fake anyway. Don't hesitate for another day. Georgia fans, Ohio State fans, take the ride of your life today. Hop on the UCF Rolling Dick Rider ZX. Slide it in with a grin, show those Bammers that UCF is the real champions.
Company X is not responsible for, and expressly disclaims all liability for, damages of any kind arising out of use, reference to, or reliance on any information contained within the site. While the ride may give you much joy, Company X is not responsible if it makes you look like a big dumbass, disgruntled fan who cannot accept the results of the actual national championship game, or the CFP playoffs when your team doesn't win. Although this ride may be fun, our package does not include lube, and may result in various anal rashes.
I mean, it just goes to show the consistent, like the consistency of the program, the respect that the program has had at that time, and even still has. I mean, even with the Sandusky fallout, most programs,
no program would survive that besides someone of a high stature like Penn State.
Yeah, and look between what O'Brien was able to build, and then look at what Franklin has done. I mean, the fact that Penn State's gone to back-to-back New Year's Six bowl games, back-to-back top 10 finishes, a Big Ten championship, it just speaks volumes of how good and resilient the program is.
Yeah, and they just had the best overall prospect in the NFL draft last.
Yeah, I
mean, they did. I mean, you look at that combine and his body of work, and obviously quarterbacks have more value than they should, but Barkley was the best overall prospect in my opinion, and that's hard for me to say because he's a running back, so the value is normally not there, but he's just great. Whether he's going to be the next Devin Hester or something, he will be great in the NFL regardless of what he ends up doing when he gets a handoff. So that guy's just special. So normally, someone had brought up the other night that they think that's closer to 6 blue bloods than it is to 10 or 12, and I would tend to agree. I think when we talked about it, the 5 blue bloods that we really brought up from the beginning, they really separate themselves a significant margin from the rest of the group. And ESPN actually pointed that out as well in their article, even though their article is completely awful overall. But and those 5 would be Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame, USC, and Ohio State. I think they've really set themselves apart by a fair margin between the rest, because the difference is Penn State's great, Texas is great, Tennessee's great, Michigan. The thing is that's different between those top 5 and everybody else, and this isn't a bad thing because literally the programs I just named are so much further ahead of the next tier after them. It's crazy, but those 5 have the championships, they have the awards, they have, and to a ridiculous degree. I know Penn State and Texas have those things, but to a much more ridiculous scale, those 5 programs have the wins, trophies, both individual and team, the tradition, the money. It's to a level that's definitely different than the rest. So I would say it's closer to 6 than it is to 12. But that being said, if it was 12, there's no question Penn State is in that top 12. The big one that I have a problem with are the 2 Florida schools. I believe Florida State is a fantastic program, and they're definitely an elite program today. But I can't say that a little bit less than 40 years of great history is enough to make you a blue blood. Even though it has been a more than great, it may be the best 40 years we've ever seen in terms of just consistency when it comes to win of any program we've ever seen. You could argue that, you really could. But I just don't think that they have enough yet. And if they did focus on football earlier than everybody else, or earlier like everybody else, I do believe they'd be there. Miami has been overall a not very good program, minus Jimmy Johnson and those great 2000s teams. And I don't think they're a blue blood. I think that they have 5 championships and they have great all-time teams, and more power to them for that. I do think they have a pretty cool history when they're winning, not so much when they're losing. They have great atmosphere whenever they're winning. When they're losing, they don't.
I think the fact that Miami, that everything happened since '83, and we've got that 2001 team that everybody's still thinking about.
The 2001 team,
and I think that actually boosted Miami. It's not so much their history, but just the fact of when it happened.
If that 2001 team got up to almost beat them, Virginia Tech almost beat them. If they had been beaten, we might not even be talking about Miami right now.
Yeah, you're right. Let me go ahead and throw this out. I was thinking about it when you were saying that the list should have been 6. Now, Sean Vergowven is the one that actually, he's the one that actually said that first. But I can tell you right now that Vergowven's reasoning for that was to keep Michigan out of this list.
Oh man,
blue bloods total with 10 teams that have an argument. The list is closer to 6 than it is to 12. I agreed with that statement. But Michigan's definitely one of those 8. No matter what you say about Michigan's recent history, the fact is that they are number 1 in wins and win percentage is just too much to overlook. You can't be number 1 in 2 categories and not be elite. It's just period, end of discussion on that. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. I mean, those are two great feats that just obviously no one else is matching. Notre Dame closely behind them, but their total wins and win percentage are too much to overlook, I think.
And I agree. I hate Michigan. Like, I would do unspeakable things to Michigan fans if I could and had to say. I hate the school. They could, like, between Pitt and Michigan, I don't know. At the end of the day, people make fun of them. Bo, Bo never won a 5-12 all time in bowl games. Here's the thing. Only 2 coaches ever won 200 games faster than Bo Schembechler. That was Joe Paterno and Tom Osborne. When you look at their program, Fielding Yost, Fritz Chrysler, Benny Oosterbahn, Bo Schembechler. Lloyd Carr was even a great coach. He's in a college football.
Absolutely.
They won 30.
You could say they've underachieved. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you lose 12 bowl games. They won 13 Big Ten championships during Bo's run. I mean, they literally would lose the Rose Bowl. Like, I just pulled it up right now. They lost 1, 2, 3, 4,
definitely, even in the early 2000s. I remember everyone saying it should have been Cal and not Texas, and Texas wiping Texas beating Michigan, and then USC beating Michigan. I mean, they always lose in the Rose Bowl. They always lose in the Rose Bowl. Do they even have a Rose Bowl win? I'm just kidding. I know they do, but I'm just saying they do always lose in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a testament to where their program is. I mean, they're
to be there is enough to be elite if you're there consistently.
And that's the thing they are. I mean, yeah, grant you, they're always one of the Pac-12 teams bitches like USC or Washington. But
yeah,
guess what? They win. They win the games to get there. If some other team within the Big Ten could beat them on a more consistent basis,
having like 4 titles in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean,
if anything, I guess you can count those as national title seasons for Michigan.
That's their UCF title. I mean, it's just like I get Vergowven. He's a Sparty. He hates them. I mean, being a Spartan fan, you hate everything about the other schools in the Big Ten.
I didn't realize it was as bad as it is until I moved to Ohio from Oklahoma. Michigan fans. There's 3 fans that are absolutely the fucking worst. Okay. And we have some great ones of each fan base, so it's not to everybody. The guys we talk to are all actually pretty great. Clemson, Georgia, and Michigan are the fucking worst fan bases I have ever. I mean, it's a shitstorm. First of all, I didn't even know they had the internet in Georgia. They figured out how to use that the year they got to the Rose Bowl.
Right. Yep, it did come out of nowhere. They just crawled out, buddy. And
Clemson fans, when I went to South
Carolina, they think they're blue bloods.
When I went to South Carolina, they were very nice. Clemson fans were actually fantastic. They're really nice to me. It was actually I went to South Carolina about 2 weeks after the Russell Athletic Bowl, which was literally my team just showed up on the bus, put a couple of guys out there pretending to play football, and got their ass kicked because they didn't care. And quite frankly, that 2014 OU team would beat the 2014 Clemson team if they cared, but they didn't because that team had a lot more loftier goals and they couldn't give a shit less about the Russell Athletic Bowl. And everyone knows that, including Clemson fans, even though they don't admit it.
See, I work construction. I build things. Do you understand how important that is to the world?
Doyle Hargraves Construction.
Told you 3 times already. The law's on my side.
Smacking Off invites you to join us on the podcast. If you have an opinion on an upcoming game, some commentary on your conference, or want to roll with one of your fellow smackers on air, hit us up. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages, email me at maddenshannon@toothfairy.com, or call us on the Smack Line, 304-508-BAIT. And as always, fuck your team.
Do you guys have your lists from the other night?
Yeah, I have mine. I don't. I want to say that I wouldn't normally include Miami, but we agreed as a group to include Miami in the top 10. I'll go with mine. Mine is number 1, I have Alabama. 3, I have Notre Dame. 5 USC, 6 Michigan, 6 Nebraska, 7 Michigan, 8 Texas, 9 Tennessee, 10 Miami.
Okay. Kyle, do you got yours?
Yes, I got it. Okay, so much like Timothy's comments, number 10 is Miami. While I do consider them a blue blood, I got them would be my 12th blue blood, like the new kid on the block. And if someone tells me they shouldn't be, I'm not going to argue with you.
Right.
They're there. Number 9's Tennessee. You got to just look at the history. I mean, 6 national titles. General Nealon, Johnny Majors, Philip Fulmer. I know, Doug, that brings up hard feelings there.
No.
You got
Shannon.
We love that's Shannon. Shannon will end a segment if you bring up Philip Fulmer.
Oh God. So I got Tennessee at 9. Nebraska I got at 8. I think overall they got the wins. It's just, to me, this is a program that when you take away like the tail end of Bob Devine in a Tom Osborne era, like it's like eh. It makes it look good for them to join the Big Hope there out of the West Division and set the hell out of each other. 7's Texas. I just think, Old Southwest Conference, Darrell Royal. I think didn't Dana Bible coach, was it them or A&M? I can't remember off the top of my head. I just when I think of college football and I think it like the Southwest, they're the first things that come to my mind.
Right.
6 is wins all time. Top 5 is the fact they have half a national 48. I mean, Nebraska, in my opinion, was the superior team in '97. So I'm just trying to be nice. So that's what keeps them out of the top 5. Entering my top 5, Southern Cal. Again, it's like you can maybe put them 4 above my number 14, which is Notre Dame. I'd listen to that. I just think that when you get out of the, like they had like a ghost era between Howard Jones and John McKay. And then after John Robinson went to the Rams, Rose Bowl was like meh. But they really didn't get back till Pete Carroll. The Pete Carroll era, I'm a person who just doesn't care what the NCAA says what happened or not.
Mm-hmm.
Great era. I'd like to see him try to get back with deeper with Clay Helton. 4 is Notre Dame, obvious reason. 3 is Timothy's Oklahoma. I just feel that that's a program that, outside of, they have plenty of national titles. I think what keeps them away from number 2 Ohio State, number 1 Alabama, is the fact that it's been almost 20 years since they've won one. So Ohio State, I got a 2. They had that 34-year gap between 68 and 2002 national titles. Mm-hmm. They've won years. Mm-hmm.
So you would have them flipped had Oklahoma won this year?
I would probably flip them if Oklahoma won this year, yes. And then Alabama's number 1. It's what are the Alabama memes that all the Bama fans throw around at you? In your lifetime, who's won the most national titles? It's Alabama.
That's what I do once people start bringing up 1941 and stuff. I say let's start at 1961 then.
I mean, it's called like we see it. You can look at the Saban era and say, okay, Saban to me is the greatest politician since Bryant. Like the way when you see championship weekend,
Saban didn't call into ESPN. They probably wouldn't have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, ESPN is much like when Bryant would make those phone calls. They'll put them on there, and when his teams get those opportunities, whether you feel that they're warranted or not, they make the most on. They
right.
do.
If they was to get into, if they would have got in this year and Clemson would have killed them, then everybody. But that's not what happened. So
you knew when you saw that matchup and Clemson didn't have a quarterback. Though you knew Alabama was going to steamroll their ass.
I didn't know if they'd steamroll them, but I knew Saban had a month, and I knew that Clemson did not have Deshaun Watson, and that was big.
You can't just create 1,000 yards from 2 seasons out of nothing. So
here's the thing, Deshaun Watson. In my opinion, I think Clemson. If Bama didn't pull an onside kick thing they did in the 20 title, I think Clemson wins that as well.
I think it's crisscrossed. I mean, I think Clemson had the better team.
Won the wrong games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the better team lost each game.
And I just think when you look at the history of Alabama, look at all the coaches that have won titles there. when you go down to the championship block there, Wallace Wade, Frank Thomas, Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Gene Stallings. I mean, that's impressive to have 5 coaches out of that. They finally got the Heisman.
One was very.
You give it to them, and to me, you look at
actually both are kind of questionable.
Which one do you think was the most questionable?
I think Derrick Henry was the most questionable. I think Ingram was great, but I would have probably given it to McCoy.
Right.
But
Henry
was
that's the nature of the Heisman to begin with. So
three. Henry wasn't even the top 3 best players in the country that year. I don't know how he won. I literally couldn't tell you, and I'm sure you can't either. He was a great player, but I mean, McCaffrey definitely deserved it over him. Watson and Mayfield both definitely deserved it.
It's kind of a popularity,
sure,
right? And
for sure.
I mean, that's the nature of the Heisman.
If we're going to go against Henry here, think about where that year. I think that was the year they had 5 teams in the top 10 before the end of September, and everyone was saying that this is the greatest. ESPN was touting it. And Derrick Henry was just the big bad guy on the block that was just steamrolling in the greatest conference of all time.
Yeah, it really helped his narrative because it felt like every single week and a lot of years after 2011, the SEC was so fucking good in 2011 that they always got the benefit of the doubt after that. And every single time Alabama would be on TV, they'd be playing ranked Texas A&M who'd finished 7-5.
We'll just consider the Henry. Henry Trophy a retribution for Peyton Manning not winning it.
But no,
and all undeserving. I just think he was less deserving of the trophy. Henry was a great reason. I don't want to get it twisted.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to get it twisted either. But if you had to play devil's advocate and try to create a case against Derrick Henry, that would probably be your case.
I just don't know how you beat Barry Sanders' record and don't win the Heisman.
I kind of agree.
I just don't know how that happens. I really don't. And I felt like that. I mean, other than the fact that no one watched him play on TV, but
that
brings up another discussion that we could have a whole other segment about why the Heisman voting is flawed. But
okay, guys, about the order of them. Me and Shannon, we stayed out of it. If you did, don't say anything because we're gonna put the top 10 right after these 2 segments at the end of the podcast.
I didn't tally it. But
I can tell you this, without giving anything away, I'll tell you that there is a 3-way tie for second place.
That's crazy. I got an idea who this. I'm not going to say anything, but I just want to throw out for the conversation purposes here. In my 12, the only differences between my list is number 9 would be Penn State, number 10 would be
my only difference would be that Miami would not be in there, and number 10 would be Penn State.
All right, guys. Hey, y'all have a good night.
Hey, have a good evening.
You too, man. Get some sleep.
All right, bye-bye.
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 The new Blue Blood Top 10 list is brought to you by...
See, I work construction. I build things. You understand how important that is to the world?
Doyle Hargraves Construction.
Told you 3 times already.
Number 10, the Miami Hurricanes. Number 9, the Tennessee Volunteers. Number 8, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Number 7, the Michigan Wolverines. Number 6, the Texas Longhorns. Number 5, the USC Trojans. Number 2 is a 3-way tie between the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Number 1, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Please subscribe to our channel by clicking the small smacking off icon at the top of the screen now. Click the link at the bottom of the screen to watch last week's episode.